will pick it up. Turns it north, crossed over that line. Scheifele back out in front for Connor. A shot. He scored! 33 seconds into overtime. Kyle Connor will get a goal. His 34th of the year. Jets win. Jets win. Jets win in overtime tonight. 4-3 the final score, and Winnipeg is within 1 point of a wild card spot.
This guy got the first goal to get us going. Oh! You were nasty. You were nasty. They can't kill us, boys.
Yes! I'm going to go to Sis for that gamer.
Oh!
Yeah!
You're on first, right?
Yeah, great job. Way to respond there. 2 more to go. Let's keep this rolling.
Yeah!
How many people, when overtime started, because of all the times we've seen the combination, the trio of Josh Morrissey, Mark Scheifele, and Kyle Connor end things at the United Center, thought it was going to be over right away? Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to Check-In. Jamie Thomas with Sarah Oleski, who's in one of her favorite hotel rooms in the volleyball circuit in Canada.
Yes, on the road. So it's it is not the usual backdrop here today, but very excited. I obviously was not wanting to miss Check-In today as we set up this game tonight against the Dallas Stars. And as the Jets continue this road trip, they've gone 2 for 2 to start so far. Will they be able to duplicate it again here tonight in Dallas?
Well, same thing with the game in Denver the other day. It's like, not sure what's going to happen. You text me, what's like, have you watched this first period? Like, did not look good. Kind of thought, of all the games in this road trip, this looked like that game this opponent they would overlook, considering how well they were doing. So for them to jump out to a 3-1 lead and then watch that lead evaporate from 3-1 down to 3-3 and then win in overtime was how the Jets have done things. They've been tugging on our heartstrings all year long, and Saturday or Tuesday in Chicago was no different. So they had found themselves 1 point out of a playoff spot. As of that moment, that has changed because of with the action on Wednesday night. Worst case scenario possible, San Jose wins, and then LA and St. Louis go to overtime in the classic 3-point game with Los Angeles winning. So the Jets are 2 points behind the Los Angeles Kings, who currently sit in the final wildcard spot in the Western Conference.
Yeah, great to see so many of you in the chat already. Lots of you loving Paul Edmonds' call. Of course, there is nothing better than that. I love this one, the ordered in KFC the other night, and then look who scores. Of course, Kyle Connor. If you haven't seen that KFC commercial, highly recommend you seeking it out because it is a great job for a commercial in which Kyle Connor does not speak at all.
Right.
But
some of his best acting.
He did a tremendous job. But great to see so many of you, whether you were in Maryland, Winnipeg, or wherever you are, joining us, and we love to hear you in the conversation. Scott Burnside is going to join us shortly.
Yes.
An absolute legend in the world of hockey writing, 2024 Elmer Ferguson Hall of Fame award winner.
This just and he's pretty good.
He's fantastic. He covered the Dallas Stars for a number of years, but then covered the league for years with ESPN and a variety of other outlets. So he's with the NHLPA right now writing. So looking forward to having him on. And then who else do we have?
We have Josh Bogorad, the voice and face of the Dallas Stars. So he'll update us on the Dallas Stars, who find themselves in exactly where they were a year ago, chasing after the team that's in first place and fighting for the President's Trophy and trying to fight off a team behind them in the standings. So, of course, last year, Dallas was the main nemesis in the Winnipeg Jets' pursuit of the President's Trophy. They are pushing the Colorado Avalanche right now, but more than likely they will be the 2 seed when the playoffs begin in the middle part of April. So we'll figure out what's going on with them. They've been pretty inconsistent as of late. Josh will take us through what's going on with the Dallas Stars lately.
Yeah. Hey, there's some props for you from someone in the chat saying latest ground control was great. We're going to have a preview of it, a clip from it. So for those that haven't had the opportunity to listen yet, we'll have that later on in the show. So see, look at that. Huh?
Thank you.
It was great. It was great, Jamie.
It's
Props
funny
to
what
you,
they tell you.
Snaps.
And it's just our comfortable seats that we have in the ground control studio, I think has been the real key to people giving us information that they don't want to give us. But man, we've uncovered some crazy things like Gabe Velarde's goggles. The fact that Gabe Velarde bought everybody Nintendo Switches There's a lot of interesting tidbits in this latest edition of Ground Control, so happy to share that with you a little bit later. We all love to be. It's a competitive time of year. It's the Stanley Cup playoffs just around the corner. We love to compete, especially Sarah and I, and our good friends
against
Tim
each
Hortons,
other in particular.
Against each other, yes. Tim Hortons, our friends, have come through for us with the Tim's Hockey Challenge. Play to win. The best part about this, it's free. It's in the Tim's app. Make your picks each night and earn Tim's reward points in the process. The best part about this, free coffee for a week if you hit a 7-day streak. So each night you pick 3 players that have to score goals. If one of those guys do it and you get it right 7 days in a row, you'll get free coffee for a week. Even Scott Burnside would not be able to turn that down. We'll find out a little bit later from him about his soup of choice as well. So thank you to Tim Hortons for providing the Tim's Hockey Challenge. Sarah and I will make our picks at the end of the show and let you know what we're going to do in that direction. In the meantime, as we roll along on the show, let's take a look at what the Jets' record has been since the Olympic break. It has been tremendous. 10-4-4, ladies and gentlemen. That is the second best record in the Western Conference. No surprise, the St. Louis Blues, who went on a tear after the Four Nations face-off last year, have the best record in the Western Conference. The Buffalo Sabres, who can clinch a playoff spot, by the way, tonight, for the first time since 2011. They're 14-2-2 since the Olympic break. Just incredible. But Winnipeg pulling themselves into the mix with that win in Chicago the other night and their play as of late. Los Angeles, San Jose, Nashville, Seattle, all in the mix. They're playing tonight.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Los Angeles and Nashville are playing against each other. So
all you hope is not a 3-point game.
Right. That's what we're going to be happy. Those are all late games afterwards. So let's keep our fingers crossed that does not go into overtime at all or into a shootout for that matter. Morning skate is just wrapped up. There's been some changes, Sarah.
Ooh, you know what? I mean, we love when things stay the same, but it also spices things up a little bit when we can talk about projected lines that are a little bit different than what we saw last game. Right. I've seen people in the chat say that there was a bear sighting that they have seen online. So let's get to it. Okay. Morgan Barron's back in the lineup. Guess who's back? Back again. Back again. Good for you. Thank you. Now notice the babyface assassin looking down at us right now. Cole Perfetti, he'll be on the left side on the second line. But Morgan Barron back in the lineup, everybody. Parker Ford and Isaac Rosane will be the fourth line for Morgan Barron. Of course, Jonathan Toews, Brad Lambert, and Cole Koepke right in the way. Also changed on the blue line. Hayden Fleury back in. He'll take over for Jacob Bryson. He'll be on the left side with Elias Salamonson. And, of course, our good friend Connor Hellebuck will be the starting goaltender again tonight. And I listen, there's been a lot of conversation and people asking about Eric Comrie, but I think Scott Arniel made it clear, especially with the schedule shaking out, it sounds like Connor Hellebuck's going to play the rest of the way, if I'm reading between the tea leaves. What do you think about that? I think that's, well, he's the reigning Vezina Trophy winner. Oh, I'm not discounting. I'm not saying, I mean, it's similar to when the narrative was coming home for that game and people said, oh, do you go to Eric Comrie? Or no, it's just, do you? Yeah, I agree with it. It's, I mean, as great as Comrie has been, you got to play your best. So, Connor Hellebuck again against the Dallas Stars here this evening. We will hear from the room shortly, but we pumped his tires a ton at the top of the show. We're going to pump his tires for another 10 minutes here as we bring in our good friend, Scott Burnside, into the show. Hey, my friend, how are you?
That's great. I was gonna complain. You don't write, you don't call, but Sarah, everything is forgiven now. In fact, Sarah, if you want to keep going for the next 8 or 9 minutes, I'm all for it.
It is so great to see you, Scott. How are things?
I have no complaints. You mentioned the NHLPA. I was fortunate enough to be in Milan and providing content for the PA. I've been doing some stuff for them for the last couple of years, different programs that they run, and was at Four Nations, and then for the Olympic tournament. So that was good. I have Burnside on hockey for devoted, deeply disturbed few, but it's great. It's great to join you guys. And I was, again, you sort of, you check the standings every day, but I must admit that when I knew I was going to come on, I was like, oh my God, the Jets are right back in it. And thank goodness for the Western Conference, right? I mean, thank goodness for all the teams in the Pacific that can't get out of their own way. And here we are with, 2 weeks to go in the regular season. And I do think in some ways it sounds trite, but the Jets they're the masters of their own destiny, really.
Isn't it crazy? I mean, you look at the panic that's going on in the East with people saying teams that are having pretty much catastrophic seasons, but should they be in the West, that they would be in a playoff position and the playoff line, we thought there was no chance. And I fully admit that coming out of the Olympic break, the Jets were back 11 points. I said, look, there's no way that you can make up 11 points plus jump the 5 or 6 teams that there were at the time.
Yeah.
It's just mathematically, sure, it's possible, but we've all watched hockey for a long time. No, it's not going to happen. And then everybody around the Jets have been taking care of what they need to do, but everybody around the Jets has gone into a slump, it seems, right now. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I know. I penned a pseudo apology to Andrew Burnett and the Predators a week ago because they had jumped themselves back into, and actually they were pretty close to Utah for about an hour. And then immediately now they've lost 3 in a row and they look like they did for most of the season. So I'm like, all right, never mind that apology. I'm sorry. And Seattle just, I don't know, looks out of gas. And I spent a fair amount of time with the LA Kings the last 2 years in providing content. I was part of their coverage team for the last 2 playoff runs, brief as they were, against the Edmonton Oilers. Yeah. And I'm sure you know this, but the Kings have the easiest schedule down the stretch, followed very closely by the San Jose Sharks. And I love, listen, what's going on in San Jose is so exciting. And I think Mike Greer's done a fabulous job there, and such a, again, a marketplace that for years and years you expected them to be in a Final Four. I know they never quite, got their arms around the Stanley Cup, but trip to a Stanley Cup final in 16, and a real powerhouse for years and years, and then some very lean times. But having seen Macklin Celebrini live and up close in Milan, and it's just so exciting there. But they are a team that invariably needs to win every game 6-5. So I don't know if that's a way to sneak into the playoffs or not. So. I just think that the Jets have the most difficult schedule of all of the Western Conference teams that are still, legitimately in the hunt. And every team they play is either in a playoff spot or fighting for a playoff spot. But you got to beat good teams. And I don't know, I just, the game against the Stars is going to be really important. But how, as you point out, Sarah, how exciting to have this on your plate, to have this opportunity.
100%.
Scott, as much as we're talking about the fight for the last playoff spot in the Western Conference and the issues in the Pacific Division, what about the 3 juggernauts, the top of the Central Division, again looking like the clubs that will represent at some point the Western Conference in the Stanley Cup final? Or is it that simple in your opinion?
I don't know if it's that simple. I mean, I had this long debate with an employee of a Western Conference team yesterday. He asked me if I was a playoff format denier. I was like, I don't even know what that means, but it does. There's something inherently wrong, I think, when you have the top 3 teams in the Western Conference, all in the Central. 2 of them are going to play each other in the first round, as you noted, Jamie. Sorry. With Minnesota and Dallas likely. And then, unless there's a huge upset and Colorado loses to the second wildcard team, one of the top 3 teams in the Western Conference and one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the NHL another one will go home after the second round. So I do think there's something, what's the reward for regular season success? And when you look next year to 84 games of regular season, I don't see that's I think that's a flaw in the system. Right. But I understand the importance of the rivalries. I understand the dynamic first round play. Who won't want to tune in to see Minnesota and Dallas in the first round? And this employee was saying, if you watch the NBA, you don't have to watch any first round series. They're all preordained. There's no draw and different. Listen, apples and oranges, I get it. But but I do understand that point of it. I do, and it doesn't happen every year this way. So it is, there's, if the Jets take care of business, you could be looking at 5 Central Division teams. And, I don't profess to know what's in the Avalanche, psyche, but I'm going to tell you, they were looking at teams going, of the teams in that list, probably Winnipeg would not be the team that they would pick to face in the first round, especially because it means that they will be literally hitting on all cylinders if they can sneak into that second wildcard spot. And, but that's the great fun of it, right? I mean, I can't wait to see what happens in the next 2 weeks. And there is no better time than the first round of the NHL playoffs, no matter the format.
Scott, what about, like you just talked about, you were in Milan. What about how excited are the players about the opportunity to play for their countries every 2 years? Like that's what your latest article touched on, the excitement in that department. We don't have to wait to see if Canada could beat the United States in a best-on-best tournament for 4 years. We get to see if it happens again in 2 years with the next World Cup. How excited are the players about all this?
Yeah. Well, God bless you for reading, first of all. So thank you for that. But it is true. It is a completely, I was speaking at a class at the Syracuse University last night, and we're talking about the Olympics. And, somebody asked what my favorite memory to start, at least at the start of the Olympics. And it was literally to see the players come off the ice, after practice, before the group play, and just how pumped they were to be there. And whether they were young, like Macklin Celebrini, obviously, or whether a player who may well be playing in their last Olympic, whether it's, never count Sidney Crosby out. He can play till he's 50. But, players who, I remember talking to Erik Karlsson about this. He thought he would play in 4 Olympics. Well, it didn't work out that way. And he's played in his last one. And so being there was so critically important. But the fact that you don't have to wait for 4 years now to have that same kind of competition and a World Cup of Hockey, which is what will happen in 2028, and announcements recently that the Canadian sites will be in Calgary and Edmonton, new building in Calgary. How exciting. And in Prague, I talked to Tomáš Hertl recently about that. I mean, how exciting for Team Czechia. They're going to host some of the European games, all the European games before the tournament moves to North America. And that team, think about it. They're one shot. Martin Netchas has a breakaway against Canada in the quarterfinals. And, maybe, the whole history is rewritten. So the fact that those players are going to get a chance to do something very similar again in 2 years, I think it's critically important for the game. I think it's really important. The players absolutely love it. And I really do think, I know it's hard to quantify, but I do think these events are so important for the growth of the game around the world, right? I mean, it's easy to get, locked into North America and the NHL, and that's hockey, but it's not. And it's always, that was my 4th Olympics, and it's always refreshing to be with the world hockey media. And you take, you wait your turn when the Slovaks come off the ice. The Slovak reporters they have the first conversations, as it should be, and so you wait your turn, and then you bore them with your English questions. But it's it really is a reminder that the game, sounds trite, but it truly is a global game, and I think I'm already excited to see what World Cup of Hockey, true best on best, 8 teams. I mean, a lot of discussions about what those 8 teams, which countries will be represented, where does Russia fit in, if at all. Yeah. But it's not going to be, and with all due respect to 2016, which I covered in Toronto, no made-up teams, no Team North America, no Team Europe. This will be very Olympic-like, and I imagine it's really going to start to create its own history that the way that those of us of a certain generation who remember 1996 and the first World Cup of Hockey and the Canada Cups and all those kinds of events, I think this new version has the potential to create that kind of lasting hockey history.
Well, outside of being a great writer, you know a little bit about food. So bear with me. Caden, play the video. It is time for Soups On, Scott. You look a little puzzled on this one. So
Not puzzled, but I'm a big soup fan, so I'm waiting to see what happens next.
Oh, that's fantastic news.
I knew it. So everybody wants to know in our chat group and the people that watch the show, this has become a little bit of a shtick for us. What is your go-to soup in any situation?
I'm gonna hedge my bets. I love a really good New England clam chowder. There's nothing better.
Nothing better than classic. Yeah.
That's it. But as a sort of old school go-to, make it at home, broccoli cheddar.
Okay.
Ooh,
First
also,
time appearance on that one on our show, Scotty. So I appreciate that.
I'm shocked by that, frankly.
I know. I'm actually offended it hasn't come on yet. So broccoli, a cheddar soup for Scott Burnside. Scott, really appreciate you taking the time. I will call you more often because I always appreciate your chats.
Yeah, I hope I've set the table properly for Josh Bogorad, who also doesn't write or call, but please give him my best. He is an amazing broadcaster and a better human being. So you can tell him I said.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. Talk to you soon, my friend.
Scott. Hope to see you soon.
Scott Burnside. You've spent a ton of time with Scott over the years, right?
Yeah, I mean, on playoff runs in particular. So you and I were talking beforehand, and I said that it's been Scott Burnside and Pierre LeBrun very close. And so with Pierre having been with TSN for years, I mean, there'd be a bunch of dinners and going out on the road with all of us during it. And a ton of fun. He's a great storyteller. He's seen so much and a great writer. And so he mentioned that he's got his site that's going, but also NHLPA. So go check it out. I saw some of the comments in there. Such great information from Scott. So you definitely don't want to miss out on anything. It's worth adding that to your list to keep on top of.
Yeah, I wanted to get a little bit further into what he's doing and how much he's enjoying working with the players now, but we just ran out of time on that one because Josh Bogorad, which we recorded this a little bit earlier, we'll run it in a bit. But first, as promised, the guys have gone into the dressing room. Here are comments outside or inside the Jets dressing room in Dallas from moments ago.
Yeah, our games have all been pretty close. The first game of the year obviously was the one that they were a lot better, but the last couple have been pretty tight. They're still one of the elite teams in the league, and obviously being in the Central and seeing these guys over the last few years, they're always good games, but you have to make sure in this building that you're ready to go, that they can come out and they obviously can score goals, but the big thing is that they defend real well. They do a really good job. Their analytics are real high in a lot of areas, when with them playing without the puck. So they can't be stubborn about things. You're gonna have to grind. You're gonna have to work to get inside, kind of like we talk about some of these teams, Vegas's and Washington and some of these bigger teams that really try to keep to the outside. We got to work our way in.
Yeah, obviously we're pretty familiar with them, and obviously seeing them in the playoffs last year where it's two good teams going at it, so we play each other well. I think we always match up for a hard game, so it's going to be tight checking again tonight. Obviously we're playing for our lives here, so we're going to come out and play with that desperation, and they're obviously a really good team, so got to come in here and get a good start in this building and go from there.
And these games have been so tight between them. Dallas has won all 3 games. This is the final game of the season series. And something to keep in mind, too, the Jets, in addition to how they've been playing lately, when you look at it, they're 4-1 in their last 5. Dallas has slipped. They're 1-3-1 in the last 5. So they've had some hiccups. But Dallas has the potential to sweep the season series for the first time in Jets franchise histories 2.0 since moving. It's never happened. And so whenever I see numbers like that, I just think, well, eventually. So they've won. Dallas has won 3. You got to think that Winnipeg's going to win 1, and no better time to do it than right now.
All right, some more insight on the Dallas Stars and how they've been kind of stumbling a little bit later. We talked to Josh Bogorad.
What did we do?
Talked to Josh Bogorad. It's because I was overthinking his name and kind of stumbled over that one. So I did not stumble in this interview, I promise.
You did not. It was a great one.
Let's hear from Josh. Welcome to the show. Of course, up here north of the border, the Toronto Maple Leafs have fired their general manager, which is the big news across the country, whether we like it or not. And when there's an opening for the Toronto Maple Leafs, it rules the headlines. So did that make the Dallas Stars sign up Jim Nill as quickly as possible because they knew the Leafs were going to be snooping around the corner trying to grab one of the best general managers in the game?
I think that the answer to that is that's not why they locked him up. But I do think that the timing of the announcement of it is certainly interesting. Jim has done such an amazing job here. It's crazy because he's turned the Stars into exactly what he wanted to. I remember his introduction. It was the summer of 2013, and people might remember the huge splash right after he was hired. He made the Tyler Seguin trade, and but what he said was he had a team in the Stars who had missed the playoffs 5 straight years. And he said, look, I want to get back to the playoffs. Obviously, we want to win a Stanley Cup, but it's not just about getting back there once. It's about building something and really making this team a perennial contender. And you look in the rearview mirror, and this is about to be their 9th trip in those 13 years for a club that had missed 5 straight. And 3 straight trips to the conference finals, and they're hoping for another long run here. And I think there's a reason why every team looks at any vacant general manager position they have and says he would be a guy because he proved that he is exactly that. But unfortunately for everyone else, I feel like Dallas is going to be very happy to keep him as long as he wants to be here.
When you look at this Stars team, I mean, sitting second in the Central right now, and we've seen ebbs and flows lately, but overall, as they go into the playoffs, you talked about how they're obviously hoping for a long playoff, a deep playoff run here. How do you think they're situated in order to be able to do that?
You know what's crazy, Sarah, is it feels like it's so reminiscent from a Stars standpoint of what it was last year when they were chasing the Jets. Because Winnipeg got off to that incredible start, kind of the way Colorado did this year. And then it seemed like whatever the Stars did, the best you could do is provide maybe some footsteps in the distance of the team that was ahead of you. And then there was a really good team behind you. Last year, it was Colorado that was in that 3 seed, and now it's Minnesota that looks like legitimately one of the best teams in the league. And so it's funny that we're here in early April, and because of the playoff format and the structure, what it is. And I know that that's a hot topic discussion probably for another day, but it is what it is. And for the Stars, they know that welcome to the Central Division Gauntlet, because there there will be a Stanley Cup worthy team that doesn't make it out of the first round. It's mathematics. And then you just have to try your hardest to make sure you're not that Stanley Cup worthy team that doesn't. But the way it looks right now, I mean, obviously mathematically it's not a certainty, but you look like that 2-3 matchup is going to be where you're destined. And so that's going to be an absolute clash of the Titans in the opening round. And if chalk holds after that, then you'll have what's been the best team in the NHL all season waiting for you. Now, again, we've seen crazy things. It doesn't necessarily work out that way. But I think that you could drive yourself crazy thinking about the future and forecasting. And what you really have to do is just get your game in order if you're Dallas for these last 2 weeks, these last 7 games, because they've dipped a little bit after they looked unbeatable coming out of the Olympic break for a while, and that's not the case anymore. So try and get healthy, try and get your game situated, and then try and strap in for what's going to be a heck of an opening round. And you just got to beat the teams that are in front of you one round at a time. But it starts right now with just getting your game where you want it to before that 3rd week of April.
We're always looking for reasons why a team isn't playing as well as it has. You know, as you mentioned, after the Olympic break, playing fantastic. Now 2-4-1 your last 7. Has injuries played a role in the inconsistency part of the Stars game as of late?
Yeah, without a doubt. But there's also a fine line between using that as a realistic explanation and an excuse. And I don't think anybody here wants to use that as an excuse, because when they were on what was a 15-game point streak, the majority of that was done with some pretty critical guys out of the lineup. You had no Mikko Rantanen since the Olympics until a couple games ago. You had no Rope Hintz for most of that. You've had no Radek Faksa. I mean, those are three pretty big pieces out of your lineup. And then there have been other guys who have since come in and out and left. And I think that was kind of a hallmark of what made that 15-game run for Dallas so impressive, is that who's ever out of the lineup, you even predate it, Sagan is out for the year, and he was a big piece of your top six. It's been the MO of this team. I know it's cliche and it gets very tiresome, I'm sure, but that next man up mentality, when it translates, that's when the Stars are at their best. When they're a four-line team, when everybody's contributing, when you're getting offense from depth guys, when you're getting great defensive games from your top guys, when your D is chipping in at a 200-foot game at both ends of the ice. And a lot of that has kind of dipped. So do injuries and do the schedule and the exhaustion play a role in that? Absolutely. But I think there's also a recognition that the entire league is tired because everybody's playing this breakneck condensed schedule. So I think you can look at it and rationally say, yes, it's had an impact, and at the same time say it can't be an excuse and it's got to end sooner rather than later.
And it looked like the post-game comments after the loss in Boston was that players were taking account, there was a level of accountability for it, of saying we're playing desperate teams right now in the schedule that are looking for those points, that are trying to get above the playoff marker. So they have a lot to play for as well. Of course, that's the case with Winnipeg coming in tonight. So what sort of response are you looking for tonight from the Stars team? What could Winnipeg be in store for going into the game this evening?
Yeah, it's such an interesting parallel because it was all against Eastern Conference teams. Stars just played a 4-game trip against teams who every game feels like a playoff game for them. And now you return back home and you're inside the division, but it's really the same situation with Winnipeg. And so it's kind of a continuation. I think I would probably quantify that similarly to the exhaustion and the injuries. There's probably something that is very tangible about not being able to replicate a fight for your life scenario that their opponents are having. That's what I expect Winnipeg to have here tonight. It certainly looks like it's what they've had during this run that's brought them back into the playoff picture. At the same time, that can't be enough. It can be part of the storyline, but from a Stars standpoint, it can't be enough. Dallas, when they're going well, they feel like they can and should beat any team in the league. And it doesn't matter if it's the one team ahead of them in the standings or if it's a team that's at the other end of it, way out of a playoff spot, or a team that's right there on the cut line. The mantra all season long has been, if we have our game in order, you don't have to really worry about what the other side is bringing. So I think it starts with that accountability that you're talking about. Sure, the recognition that Winnipeg is treating this like it's a playoff game because it kind of feels like it is for them, but it's more getting your game in order if you're Dallas and having the confidence that everything falls into place after that.
Josh, appreciate the time. Thanks so much for doing this. And thank you for taking Jim Nell off the market so we don't have to hear about it up here on the national networks day after day.
I can tell you with sincerity, it's our pleasure down here. And I was happy to join you guys.
Thanks so much, Josh. Have a great call tonight.
Thank you.
See, Scott wasn't lying. He is a good guy.
He's a great guy.
Yeah. The best. All right. We're going to talk about, one last comment. But before we get that, we talked about this. I talked to Scott Arniel. I said, dude, Morgan Barron's in my podcast. I can't have him out of the lineup. Or else people are like, where's Morgan Barron? What did you? And of course, everyone's bugging me that I'm not going to say it because that's for another time. Morgan Barron was my guest on the latest Ground Control. Here's a sneak peek.
I came to the other day just to ask about Gabe and his goggles and everything as Logan Stanley, the cat out of the bag. And then I kind of discovered something more from the conversation with you.
Usually if you sign like a pretty big extension to stay,
you
get guilted into taking the guys for a dinner or something like that. And instead he bought everyone Nintendo Switches because it was really generous of him, but he just was like, I want people to play with on the plane. He was kind of playing Switch on his own.
So it's a personal thing.
I think he helped himself. He got them at Christmas, so everyone came back from Christmas break and they were in our dry stalls. So now there's like 8 guys playing Mario Kart on the plane all the time, and of course he's the best at it. So I think Pierce was really good as well, but he's gone, so Gabe's kind of claimed the throne. So.
So with that comment in mind, did Gabe Vilardi have something to do with Tanner Pearson being traded to Buffalo because he didn't want any more competition for Mario Kart?
Yes, that's probably. I mean, if you're a conspiracy theorist, sure.
Yeah.
That
Which I'm not.
was obviously what the takeaway should be from that. I love people pointing out, though, that if you did watch the home ice with Gabe and you saw him talk about his love for Legos and that he really wants to buy the Death Star, but it's $1,000 and you know,
but then buys everybody else. But see, that would be a gift for himself. This is for everybody else,
which I love. He is one of the most unique but genuine players on the team, and I love hearing stories like that. It was a great ground control that you did. It's out right now. People want to make sure that they go and check it out.
Okay, before we make our Tim's hockey challenge picks, another thing that I uncovered that was really funny in the podcast was how Morgan Barron said, because when you hang around with Gabe Vilardi, because he has such a unique voice, they said they start talking like him when they hang out with him extended periods of time.
Really?
Yeah. Like Gabe's accent, the way Gabe delivers anything. They said
I feel like that's got maybe the social team written all over it. Impersonations of Gabe.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Thank you. That's a good one.
That could be great.
Also, thank you to Tim Hortons for the latest Tim's Hockey Challenge. Can you throw the graphic up one more time, Caden? Make sure you go to the app.
Yep.
The games are listed from tonight. You get 3 options. My picks were Cole Perfetti.
Okay.
Adam Lowry.
Yep.
And Zach Whitecloud, Manitoba.
Okay. All right.
So you and I are going to start a competition as of this moment.
And we hope that so many of you in the chat and watching will start as well. And let us know. So when we're back on Saturday, let us know how you did.
Picks win.
That's right. So, and it's interesting to see the options. Okay. So if you haven't had the opportunity to get on yet, it is not, they provide you with a list of options.
Players. Yes. You don't get to just decide.
So you can't just say, yes, I'm going to take Mark Scheifele or Kyle Connor, and pretty much guarantee yourself, it feels like a free week of coffee. So based on the list, I'm taking David Pastrnak.
Okay.
Because Boston's playing Florida tonight. He had 3 points the other night against Dallas.
You've actually done research. Thank you.
I'm also going to take Adam Lowry because you know what?
I did.
Think
Alex Iafallo was my pick. I apologize.
It was, but that's fine. You wanted to switch. I mean, Adam's great time for a goal from the captain.
Tell Adam about that at all.
And my third pick, sticking with Winnipeg Jets, would be Josh Morrissey. He's on a 5-game point streak.
Okay.
Right now, so
see James tweet. I always pick Jets players when they play.
Yeah.
That's on your way to some free coffee if you do that 7 days in a row. Obviously, the Jets don't play 7 days in a row, James. But I love your philosophy on that one. So we will do this every show.
Yeah. And we're looking forward to it. Just before we wrap things up, we'll be back on Saturday when the Jets close out their homestand in Columbus, facing Bones and the Blue Jackets. So looking forward to that one. Just a quick reminder, there were some changes. You can go online and see what the projected lines are for the Jets, but we'll see Hayden Fleury draw back in. Morgan Barron's back in the lineup, so great to see him back. And Colin Miller was on the ice today in a non-contact jersey, but a very positive sign after the injury that he suffered, to be able to see him at least back on the ice.
This is this playoff chase is insane.
It is. It's exciting. So I can't wait for Saturday's show when we get to talk more about it.
And Bones.
Oh, it'll be great. Oh, all right.
Okay.
I mean, there's not a Jet in there, but we respect your choices.
It's about getting free coffee, Sarah.
It's true.
Yeah.
And hey, it is all a competition. So keep track of your choices. We'll keep track of ours and we'll update you on Saturday.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Thanks so much, everyone, for checking in. Have a great day.